5 sewing tips you haven't heard before. These tips are not often talked about, but they do work and they're worth knowing. So let's go. So number one of my favorite sewing tips is when you're sewing through seam connections and you have that very annoying 1mm seam mismatch. Here's how to solve it. So you go ahead and you unpick the seam 1 centimeter from one side, 1 centimeter from another side. This will give you just enough fabric to reposition the seam and match them right. Next, you take a pin and you put that pin at seam line, connecting both of those seams you want to match right through the middle. Now this is key in this technique. You want to make sure that the pin is going at the seam line and is going right through the middle of both seams you want to match. Next is very simple. You just sew through the part you unpicked and you remove the pin just before the needle hits it. And that's it. You have a perfectly matched seam every single time. The day I learned this trick from my sewing teacher back at sewing school, I was mind blown because I couldn't believe how easy it is, but it actually works. Now, if you want to match the seams before you sew the seam, you want to do exactly the same. You want to put a pin right at the seam line, connecting both seams you want to match right in the middle. This tip also works if you're sewing with stripes or checked fabric. You want to make sure that you're putting a pin everywhere where you want to match fabric print at seam line, connecting both fabric layers together nicely. Use more pins for accurate results and pin at every single stripe change. Yes, that will require a lot of pins, but it will be worth it because it gives precise results every single time. Second sewing tip is marking grain line on knit fabrics. So we know that grain line is one of the key elements in each pattern detail. However, marking grain line, especially on knit items, can be a little bit of a challenge. So what I like to do is I want to take the fabric, to take my hand needle and do a base stitch along one of those knit pattern columns, and I do this all along the fabric. I usually like to do this on the fold line where I'm going to place my pattern detail. This gives me a very accurate grain line marking and it works every single time. If you're enjoying the video so far, I would appreciate if you would hit the like button because it helps the video get seen by more people. And I think that these tips are worth knowing. So number 3 is when you're working with a large thread spool and you want to put it on your sewing machine, it doesn't fit. Now, one of these solutions, the right solution, is to get a thread holder, but that thing can be a little bit pricey and I'd rather buy more thread instead. So here's the solution that will cost you $0. You take a cup, simple clean cup, you put a thread spool in it, and you put the cup behind the sewing machine and the thread sewing machine. And that's it. The cup holds the thread spool, doesn't fall out, and it works. I know this sounds a little bit like a hack, but I've tried it myself multiple times. And it does work. Now, fourth solution is how to shorten a plastic zipper. Now, there are a lot of ways how to do it, but this is the method I like to use the most. So I always shorten my zippers from the bottom, not from the top, because at the top it has those plastic things that really neatly locks them securely in place. So I'd rather cut the zipper at the bottom. So at the bottom, you want to cut the zipper 2 centimeters below the line where you want to end it. I usually cut plastic zippers with standard scissors and they handle the task very well. Next, you want to make short 1 centimeter depth cuts from each side of zipper bottom teeth, and then you cut out the zipper teeth. Then you take one fabric edge, fold it like this, and fold the other edge like this. Then you trim the edge to create a nice triangle shape and you make a short seam at the top. This will create a very beautiful triangle finish, but most importantly, it will be a very secure finish and it will not fall apart. There are of course many ways how to finish a shortened zipper, but this is the method that I like to use the most. So final fifth tip is very specific and very niche. This is why I kept it to the end of the video. So I used to be afraid of disposing old used sewing machine needles or used pins because they're very sharp, and I'm just afraid of putting it in the trash can, in the garbage bag. That really bothered me, and this really made me worried. So the solution to this problem is I bought a hard box of candy. The Tic Tac box works fine for this. And then I just simply, whenever I have old needle I want to dispose, I put it in the box and I safely close it. Next time I have a pin that I need to throw out, I put it at the same box and I close it, and I keep that box right at my sewing table, close to sewing machine. So whenever I have a needle or pin I need to dispose, I just put it there, and once it's filled, I safely throw everything out. And in this way, I know that those needles are safely disposed and they won't harm anyone. I know that this is a very specific and very niche tip, but if you struggled with this like I did, I hope this helps. If you enjoyed these 5 sewing tips, I think you also like my 5 best serging tips, and this is the video that you can watch next. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!